Well, good afternoon, sir. How are you? We got that audio.
Yep, I'm unmuted now. Okay.
All right. Welcome to Living with Pride, Living and Aging with Pride. I've got the world famous and renowned Dr. Bill Cosgrove in the house with me, and we're going to talk a little bit. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm great today. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Let me turn my phone off. It's ringing in my ear. So there you have it. There you go. But anyway, welcome to the talk. I have been watching a host of webinars from all of these experts, and not one of them features a guy like me who's one of those people in the trenches. Everybody is sitting in their big houses on the hill or in their big offices, and I'm going, how do you expect us to be talking to the people that need this information if you don't get them in the room with you talking about what's really impacting them?
Well, all of these people need information, but they have to be careful about not being in the room where the information is given. So we have to do this virtually.
Yeah, but what I understand that this is the room now.
This is the room. This is a good, safe room.
Yeah, this is the room.
Social connection, but physical distance.
Exactly. So we've got to start inviting Mary and John and Larry Smith instead of inviting the administrators of all of this. We need to combine the two together.
Well, James, one of the things that's real important now is that almost more than any time in my long lifetime, right, this is a time where everybody has to do their part. You know, not only to protect themselves, but to protect their families, to protect their neighbors, to protect somebody who they are just happen to be riding in an elevator with.
Absolutely.
Their lives depend on us being disciplined more so than we've ever had to be.
Well, I tell you, just to give you an example of how I'm learning every day. One, I've got this towel next to my chair because I have a tendency of wanting to
touch your face,
touch my face.
Right.
So I now use this.
Excellent, excellent. A new skill and a new discipline.
And then I've also learned that if I gargle a couple of times a day with salt water, I'm also enabling my respiratory system to get a cleansing, if you will.
Okay.
You said okay. Is that accurate?
I said okay, because I think that'll help. Now, there's not a lot of data that'll help, but it makes sense in terms of two things. Once, if you have inhaled this particular COVID virus or a flu virus or a cold virus, it takes a while for that virus to start invading the tissues. So if you can rinse it out or quicker before it has a chance to invade, you've saved you've maybe saved yourself an illness. The second thing is that those mucous membranes, if they're sort of dry and sticky, the germs will stick more. And so if you keep yourself well hydrated and keep those mucous membranes moist by gargling or running a humidifier, any way to keep them moist will also keep them more resilient to any germs.
And obviously when you rinse your mouth, it goes down into your stomach, and the stomach acids are pretty powerful, and they can combat those viruses better than we even imagine.
They protect us a lot.
Very good. So that, I want you folks to know that I'm paying attention, so you need to pay attention so we can put a handle on all this. You know, this is a time where we dare not to dream. And I would say that dreaming is an important factor, because when we dream about doing better, being better, you know, and enjoying life. And this will enable us to build that stamina to think of ways to improve our lives and to combat this virus. Would you agree?
I would agree on several ways. One is dreaming, or having a hope, or having a plan, or having some aspiration of what we can achieve tomorrow. It gives us a drive. Our immune system is somehow connected to our emotions. So if our emotions are down, our immune system is down. So we need to keep ourselves enthused. And part of that is learning a new skill, reaching out and connecting with another person, practicing an old skill, learning a new language, learning how to cook, and whatever you do to keep yourself motivated will tend to keep your own physical strength, but your immune strength up too. So I think all of that is a great thing.
So our body, this body is functions on memory, because the memory tells us what to do or what we have done and those kinds of things. But the actual fundamental moving of the body and the mind and the heart tends to make us better all the way around.
It does. And so we get to live longer and better.
Longer and better. I like that. There are so many things coming out at us with so-called information that's valuable to us. I have seen in the last few days a host of different organizations, departments, divisions, individuals who come to the table. Is there one center of dissemination of information that you can count on to be relatively, and I say relatively accurate, because the downside of this virus is that it's changing, and thus it's changing the data that we receive and or the reaction to the data that we receive. And so it changes. So just like the virus is a moving thing, the data and the response to the data is also a moving, living thing.
You know, you've got several good points in that last paragraph. So let me address the first one first. Where do you get good, solid, trustable information? And the source that I would suggest is coronavirus.utah.gov. And that is our state, Utah State information is locally relevant.
Right.
And it's vetted by our Utah's sort of top infectious disease experts. You could also go to the cdc.gov. The CDC website is a little slower, and they, partly because they have to make sure that the information they post is generalizable across the whole country. Right. So I think going to the state's information base is better. And the scary part of this epidemic is there's an awful lot of misinformation out there already. Right. And so that you sort of want to make sure that you get your information from a source that you trust. And trusting strangers is hard. And it doesn't exactly matter as much what their credentials are as how committed they are to giving you the truth and nothing but the truth. And like on the daily press briefings from the White House, you get all sorts of versions of truth there. You get the political truth of what we'd like to believe, what we hope for, what we're aspirational about, what we would wish it to be. And then you get Dr. Fauci, who sort of gives you sort of the straight truth right from the hip of, yes, you're in danger. You're in the sights of this virus, and be careful. And so even in that those press conferences, you get different slices of the truth. And so you have to be kind of skeptical. You know that there's a lot of good things coming out of science, but one of the things that a scientist by nature is skeptical.
Right.
They force themselves to keep relooking at their data. They force themselves to recheck their data. They keep challenging themselves to prove themselves wrong from yesterday's information to see if they can replicate it from today's information. And so that skepticism of the scientist is what we all need. We all need to be a little skeptical about the information we accept.
I guess we would be safe in saying science is a continuum of discoverabilities. As you learn something about something, everything that we learn about is living organisms anyway. So, once they are tampered with, they create a different pattern. And science is consistently tampering with that deliverability of information, and therefore that information starts to, okay, they're poking a pin in me, so I've got to break up into 55 million molecules so that pin won't hurt me, sort of a kind of a thing. But I think I could safely say, and God only knows that I'm not an expert by any sense of the word, that we are best served at garnering the information from our local and our state-based information systems, because they have a more direct reason to make sure that this particular body of people get the correct information. The national is obviously protecting the concept of the whole country, and there's so many variations in there. The people in Massachusetts may decide to go to the beach. We all don't want to go to the beach, so we have to look at our perspective from how it directly affects us and what those choices are and where those challenges are, and follow the rule of thumb from our governors and our senators and the people and the county mayors and the city mayors and all of that, because they have a direct reason to want you to be safe.
Right. And the dangers vary across the country. If you're in a highly dense population, like an inner city someplace,
right,
your risks are higher than if you're out on the countryside. But the risks out on the countryside are also high enough to take very seriously.
Yeah,
and
that's interesting that you say that, because you would think the rural areas would be less, well, people are the carriers of this process, and the wind and the air and all of that. But if you got all those mountains around you, there's not much of that's going to make it to the valley, but still it gets there.
Right, and again, it's from person to person, and every one of us interact with other persons, and that's where the danger is. So we just have to kind of treat that seriously and adapt to it. And our whole country, our whole world is adapting to a new way of interacting because of the danger of passing this danger to each other.
Right. We have a lot of work. We have a lot to do, and I'm talking with Dr. Bill Cosgrove, and I just love talking to him, ladies and gentlemen, because he just gets real, and he talks to you like, hey, I'm talking to you. And I like that. I think that more of the people who run this country, run this city, run this state, need to start recognizing that we have to learn to communicate to one another in Dr. Cosgrove is an example of talking to, well, he's talking to me. What do I know? You know what I mean? So it's an example of the guy's got great communication skills and he's paying attention to how best to get you the information. And he's talking with a guy like me who just likes to run off at the mouth. But I hope that you're getting something from this that you can use in preserving your well-being and making you healthy and happy, because the future is much brighter than the present.
Right. And I'm going to throw an idea at you that may
Okay.
make sense and may not. We talked about trying to find out good sources of information and being not led astray by misinformation.
Right.
And that has direct parallels with what a virus does. What a virus is a little bit of RNA, a little bit of genetic material wrapped in a ball of proteins. And so it isn't alive kind of like the way we think of it, of being able to reproduce itself. So that little bit of information gets into our cells, and then our cells start making the virus given that new information. So the virus essentially comes into our cells and gives us misinformation. And then our cells start making millions of copies of that misinformation. And much like the misinformation that's spread on your computer, it goes viral. and essentially information is power. Misinformation is also power. And you have to be careful about how you react to good information and how you react to bad information. And that's difficult for all of us. That's difficult for the experts.
So the body and how it works, if I might so humbly describe. So the body is what we call adaptability physically. It has the adaptability to do all kinds of things, and it takes on these challenges from all of these matters and biological things and decides if it's good for you. And that's the immune system. And the immune system says, buddy, you don't belong in this group. You got to get in here. But these new challenges the body is not aware of says, I got to think on this a bit. And the more it thinks on it, the more chance it infects other aspects of your body that don't have the guardrail that starts off in the body, because it slipped behind the guardrail and it's now infecting things that never had to worry about the blockade or the immune system, because the immune system is up front making sure nothing gets in.
You're right, but the immune system isn't perfect, and it isn't all that fast.
Okay.
It takes several days before your immune system recognizes that, oh, wait a minute, I'm being invaded. I better do something.
Right.
And then it takes another amount of time to figure out what the invader looks like. You know, oh, this little protein is a label on the enemy, kind of like oh, this invader has got a red coat, so I'm going to respond to anything next that has a red coat. Then it mounts an army, and then it starts to defeat the invader. Well, all of this takes time.
You went all the way back to the first war here.
The Revolutionary War. The redcoats are coming.
The redcoats are coming. Whoa, that was way too much history all at once.
But that's what our immune system does. Now, when we finally have a vaccine,
right,
that process, that reaction is shortened because the vaccine teaches us what the germ looks like, teaches us that what the red coats look like.
Right.
So that our immune system is already primed should that germ show up.
Interesting.
And so we'll all be quicker to respond once we have a vaccine.
So the younger you are, the quicker the battle is started to resist the invasion. whereas young people are not having as big a problem as older people are, because older people have battled a long time and their infantry is less and short of breath, so to speak,
And a little slower.
and a little slower.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, if we didn't take this down to basic understanding, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm talking with Bill Cosgrove, who is at the head of the class in finding out things and that will help you have a healthier life. And his job, his goal is to make sure that this is a healthier Utah, and he's doing just that. And he's come on this broadcast with me, and I'm trying to keep him being a fixture, because I think he's just what you need out there, is somebody that can talk to you and talk to you with compassion and concern and with real knowledge. And that's what you got to seek. You know, there is a host of things there's something I want to ask you to help me with. I want to reach out to the Comcast, Xfinity people, and all those organizations that have those systems of putting cable or whatever into all of these buildings and rest homes and all that, because there needs to be a head center that we can deliver messages and information to the aging in the environment for which they live, i.e., like the complex that I'm housed in. If we had folks like you, where we could go in our apartments and turn on channel 33 or whatever that channel is and get this information ongoing, as well as what to do about Medicaid and Medicare and all the things we need. Here's how you fill out the form. If they could turn on that channel and sit in their living room or in their beds and get this information, we would better be preparing all ages, all categories, to how to protect themselves and preserve themselves. And so I am going out now and I'm trying to reach Xfinity and say, look, this is a simple thing. You have cable connected to all of these buildings. Everybody in that building could have access to your channels. Why don't we make sure that there's one channel designated to deliver information that is critical to their lives? So now you've got them. And how many seniors we know lay in bed or sit on their couch and watch television? That's what they do. So let's get this information. So I would ask you to help me talk to these different groups so we can start making it easy to get access. You know, some people turn to channel 5, some people turn to channel 4, some people turn to channel 2 because of it's personality driven. Information does not need to be personality driven. It needs to be content relevant and delivered to people so they'll understand what to do to make their lives better.
The information sources that we now have are kind of driven by entertainment, because entertainment sells advertising.
Exactly.
And so even the newscasts try to entertain us. So
Yes.
they shock us, they deliberately scare us so that we'll
Yes.
tune in again, or they go for sensationalism, and it tends, because of the entertainment value, and because a lot of the population has a short attention span. If it
Absolutely.
lasts longer than 30 seconds, they lose it. Our newscasts are aimed for that audience, and that tends to break it up and make it sensationalized, which I think just increases all of our fear. I don't think it increases our information much.
And that is the reason why I'm saying, if there was a clear cut, read a document, here's what the document says, evaluate it from your own perspective, come back and read it again later on, the redundancy there, but the ability for you to get that information is not sprinkled with Hi, I'm James Brown, and great. Today, it's based upon accurate and sincere information that you need to know and understand. And I think that would be a better way to disseminate the information, especially at this time, because one side of it, you see the streets are clear. On the other side, you see the grocery stores are filled.
Right.
You know, and you go, how do we do that? So, do we build a better system of delivering food and groceries? Maybe that's the process that we need to take on. Get a phone bank and put phones in there, and the people can call in and order, pay for the food on by a credit card or whatever. But we now start showing people how to do this rather than scaring the devil out of them by saying, oh, you can't go here. Last week, no mask. This week, you can make a mask out of a handkerchief. Well, maybe I could use toilet paper, because we're not explaining when we tell people about these masks that the matter, depending upon what that fabric is, can be absorbed in that mask, and you can take it off and set it down on your counter, and you have now transferred that stuff that you didn't get directly into your mouth onto your table, into your clothes, on your cabinet, or whatever. So nobody's explaining this process to people, that when you put the mask on and you take it off, the mask goes into the garbage can, because it's done more than you even imagined. Everything else that you think you don't want to touch is there, and maybe the coronavirus didn't get through, but all that other crap that's out there that will also help bring the resistance down on your immune system will be there and make you more susceptible to the coronavirus.
I agree. And
I should be.
the
You should.
the
You should take my role, and I'm now going to be Dr. Brown. That's the end of this.
well, Dr. Brown, the yeah, and in terms of the masks,
Right.
Even in the hospital, even for our healthcare workers,
Right.
Masks don't filter out all of the viruses that you breathe in.
Right.
They just don't. They can't. The expensive ones, the ones that are hard to come by, the N95 ones, say that they're going to filter out 95% of those virus-sized particles, and which tells you right there they're letting 5% through. So the mask, partly the way it protects us is it reminds us not to touch our faces because there's something in the way.
Right.
That's a very important goal. It also doesn't keep all the germs from entering, but if you cough or sneeze, instead of having those germs spew out 10 to 20 feet away,
Right.
it stops them near your mouth so that you're less likely to infect somebody else. So the mask is mostly to, one, signal the guy you're passing on the street that you care enough about him to try to protect him, and it helps you remember to keep your distance, and it helps you to not infect him more than it in fact protects you yourself.
Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Dr. Bill Cosgrove. We're talking about protecting yourself and being concerned about the coronavirus. And understand that I've used the word concern. I didn't say panic. I didn't say freak out. I didn't say run for cover, but you should run for cover. But what I'm telling you is pay attention, learn what this is all about. And the more you learn, the more you will understand what you need to do. And the first thing is you wash those hands regularly, because your hands are everywhere. You indiscriminately are touching everything you can feel, because that's what we are. We are touchy-feely human beings. We've learned that, and now we've got to memorize that touchy-feely thing and use it as the excitement venue rather than putting our hands on things. So, these today, tomorrow, please follow what the great doctor is talking about. And if you need to ask the question, you can go to our YouTube page at livingwithpride.org on YouTube, or go to our Facebook page. We're posting these things up, and my technology person is now working on a way where you can daily ask questions on our webpage. So bear with me. We're putting all of this together through passion and my heart, and I hopefully will have it up and ready to go here shortly. But believe me, we're working feverishly to get this thing accomplished. So you'll have somebody that is really representing who you are, because I am one of you, and I've gone through this cycle of trying to figure out where my life is going to take me, and here it is. I'm here for you, with you, because of you, and I want to do everything I can to help do that. So, Doctor, I thank you for being a guest on. Is there, in closing, is there anything you'd like to say to compound all this wisdom you've shared with us today?
Well, I think I'd like to repeat a thing that you mentioned before, and that is we want people to be concerned. We want them to be serious about it and aware that there's a danger out there, but not frightened. This isn't going to sneak up on you in the dark. This is going to be passed to you by a loved one if you or your loved one aren't careful. So the answer is, don't be frightened, but be serious about it and be careful.
Great. Thank you very much again. I'll call you later and we'll schedule another time. I'm going to try to get a couple of other people to join us the next time so we can really toss the ball around a little bit. But I so much appreciate your willingness to come on and share this little cubicle that we have in front of us together. You are an inspiration, really, and I have so much honor for you and respect. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you. I'm glad to be with you.
You have a great day, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.